Hello and welcome back to Born to Rant. I'm Brandon, and today we are going to take a look at what I consider to be the most emotional Batman movie. A movie that was so good it was put into theaters at the last minute, and the movie that gave us the most underutilized villain in all of Batman's rogues gallery. That's right, today we are diving deep into 1993's Batman Mask of the Phantasm, directed by Eric Radomski and Bruce Timm, and starring Mark Hamill, Dana Delaney, and the one and only Kevin Conroy. We'll take a look at the movie's between seasons production, how it ended up in theaters, why it failed, everything that makes the movie a masterpiece, and its legacy over 30 years later. Now, I can't say for certain, but I am like 99% sure this was the first movie that I ever saw in a theater. I asked my dad once a few years ago if it was this movie, and he told me he couldn't remember, but I just kind of have this vague memory at the back of my brain of being in awe of the Gotham City skyline in the opening of this movie. But realistically, my memories of this movie are tied to that black clamshell cover case and that amazing poster art. And honestly, I would watch this movie just as often as Tim Burton's Batman. This movie just absolutely captured my attention as a kid, but this opening action sequence I would put up against almost any live action Batman movie for best opening. I especially love the touch of Batman kicking this table, it's so sick. But even the action and animation aside, this movie tells one of the most emotional stories in the entire Batman canon. We watch as Bruce Wayne falls in love, gives up his quest for vengeance, only to reluctantly embrace the dark in the end. Okay, before I get too deep into waxing poetic about Mask of the Phantasm, let's head back in time and learn just a little bit more about how the movie came to be. Obviously, the character of Batman was created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger in 1939 and became immediately popular. And over the decades, Batman would appear in several serials that have aged like milk, a campy TV show, a campy movie, and of course in 1989, Tim Burton reinvented the character with Batman. And in 1990, the character was so popular that Warner Brothers made the decision to spin him off into his own animated TV show that took the character as seriously as Tim Burton's movies did. Enter Alan Burnett, Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, and Eric Radomski, who would work with voice director Andrea Romano to create the series, and when the series premiered in primetime on September 6, 1992, it was immediately a giant hit. So the decision was made that between seasons 1 and 2, the team would be commissioned to create a 90-minute made-for-TV movie to bridge the seasons. Alan Burnett was tasked with creating the story, and he has said that his main inspiration was to tell a story that felt completely outside of the typical rogue of the week adventures that the animated series was doing. And Burnett was really interested in telling a tragic love story, since that wasn't something we'd ever really seen Batman go through. Now, obviously, even though they wanted this to be outside of the typical rogues gallery, Mark Hamill's Joker does still appear in this movie, but I think the way that the movie handles his character is genuinely pretty clever. So while Burnett handled the overall story, the flashback scenes were written by Martin Pasco, who took particular inspiration from Citizen Kane. Michael Reeves wrote the movie's climactic action sequence and ending, and Paul Dini, as he puts it, filled in little holes as needed. So about halfway through production on Phantasm, Warner Brothers came to the team and told them it wasn't going to be direct to video anymore. They wanted to put this thing directly in theaters, which obviously thrilled the creative team behind the movie. It's not often that we get to see animation treated that seriously, even now. But there was one big problem, because this was set to be direct to video and shown on TV. The aspect ratio was set to the standard 4:3 instead of the widescreen aspect ratio that's typically used for theatrical releases. Which I know, that sounds like not that big of a deal, but look what happens when I shrink these frames down to 4:3. See how much of the background we're losing? That means that the team had to go through and extend the background of every shot they'd completed so far. Yet miraculously, Phantasm was not delayed, but unfortunately for whatever reason, even though Warner Brothers had enough faith in the movie to put it into theaters, they did not have enough faith in the movie to put a solid marketing budget behind it. So on December 25th, 1993, when Mask of the Phantasm was released into theaters, it would make just $1.1 million against its $6 million budget and place 11th at the box office. And sadly, that would be its best performance. And it would end its theatrical run with a worldwide total of $5.8 million, making it a massive disappointment for Warner Brothers and the creative team. Mark Hamill has even told stories about going to see the movie opening weekend, and there were like less than a dozen people in his theater, so he just invited everyone to come and sit with him to watch the movie. And when Mask of the Phantasm Phantasm was released on VHS in April of 1994, it actually became a very sizable hit. Apologies for the interruption, but I wanted to just jump in and quickly tell you that today's video is brought to you by the members of the Born to Rant Patreon and our channel members here on YouTube. Members get early access to videos, access to exclusive videos like this one on the Burbs and this one on the Golden Child. Born to Rant is a completely independent channel, so memberships really help me keep the lights on. And now is a great time to join because I've set every tier on both Patreon and YouTube to be free for a trial period. If you're interested in joining, there's a link to join the Patreon in the description below, or a button beneath this video to join as a channel member. And even if joining as a member isn't really your thing, you can still really help me out by either liking the video or subscribing to the channel. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's dive deep into everything that makes Mask of the Phantasm a stone cold classic.
Buzz Bronski, your angel of death awaits.
I feel like one of the first things that pops into my brain when I think about this movie is the opening title sequence. So what better place to start than there? First of all, fun fact, this 3D Gotham City skyline was actually originally created to be used for the animated series as a sort of digital set, but it never ended up being used in the show or really anywhere else aside from this title sequence. Also, this sequence is set to the absolutely amazing score by Shirley Walker. And actually, I really love Walker's score throughout the movie, specifically the love theme for Bruce and Andrea. I feel like it really captures the hopeful yet melancholic tone of their relationship really well. I just love the whole score, as does Walker, who says this is one of her favorite scores that she ever did. Now, the script for this movie is interesting because aside from one really annoying plot inconsistency, I genuinely believe that this is one of the best Batman stories ever told. First of all, the mystery of the Phantasm murders is genuinely intriguing and keeps you guessing. But the flashbacks, oh, the flashbacks. Truly, this is the stuff that keeps me coming back to this movie. The love story between Andrea and Bruce is genuinely so tragic. And this movie really leans into Batman's more classic noir world. Obviously, the Art Deco world of Batman the Animated Series is the stuff of legends. It's just one of the coolest cities ever designed for any movie or TV show for that matter. And that really helps add to the noir style of storytelling this movie is trying to accomplish. But Mask of the Phantasm has the classic trope of two star-crossed lovers that are destined to never be together no matter how much they want to be. And of course, as is the case in any good noir, the thing keeping them apart is crime. One person has an inflated sense of morality and the other just wants what they feel they're deserved. It's really classic stuff.
What will vengeance solve?
If anyone knows the answer to that, Bruce, it's you.
Their love story aside, I've also always really loved the action sequences found in the flashbacks. First, we've got Bruce's first outing, which goes kind of okay, but gives us this great line.
There was only one thing wrong. They weren't afraid of me.
And then the action sequence with the motorcycle gang and young Bruce is also a big standout sequence in the movie for me. And I love that it ends with Bruce getting his ass kicked because he was distracted by love. Just pure Batman poetry. Actually, this movie has a few different action sequences that I think really hold up and can stand on their own next to any live-action Batman movie. Like I said at the top of the video, the opening sequence is great and the introduction of the Phantasm is so perfect and genuinely creepy. Obviously, the best action sequence in the movie is this one, and it all starts with the death of Sol Valestra and Joker being just so disappointed that it's not Batman doing the killing. But this leads to this excellent chase with the police after Batman chasing him through the city and this construction site. And I've always loved the fake out with the cape and cowl on the helicopter. Then of course we've got the classic femme fatale showing up at the last second in a getaway trope. There really is just a lot to love about Mask of the Phantasm. It's dark and gritty without being overly grimdark. It tells an adult story without alienating kids just as much as it's telling a kid-friendly story that won't alienate adults. As for what doesn't work about Phantasm's script, well, there really are two big offenders. First is that the movie lies to us up front about Andrea being in town for the first murder. The first time we see her, she's flying into Gotham City, but Chucky Sol is already dead. The movie attempts to explain this away by saying,
You came into town early to get Chucky Sol. so you could shift the blame to your father if you had to.
But that's just such a lame explanation. It doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but it's something that's bothered me since I was a literal child. There's one other thing that doesn't work, and I would say it really only half doesn't work, and that is the Joker. Now, the movie uses him sparingly. He doesn't even show up until halfway through, and I do genuinely like the flashback stuff and Bruce figuring out that this random goon turned into the Joker. I don't even hate the idea of Joker having a real tangible backstory. I kinda hate his secret lair at the Abandoned World's Fair.
Move this man!
Don't get me wrong, I think the roller coaster car entrance is sick as hell, and his robot wife chopping bologna is something that made me laugh a lot as a kid for some reason. But man, this finale here just does not fully gel with the more straightforward murder mystery story we'd been watching for the previous hour. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it fully doesn't work or that it ruins the movie. I'm just saying that for me and my sensibilities, this ending has never fully worked for me, but I do acknowledge that having a very serious murder mystery and with Joker shenanigans does feel very in line with Batman comics. As for what else works about the movie, I mean, it's obviously the voice performances from all of our leads, Mark Hamill, Dana Delaney, and Stacey Keech, and of course, the late, great Kevin Conroy. But let's start with Hamill. I mean, what can be said about his Joker that hasn't been said a million times before? It's absolutely flawless. He's still my #1 favorite Joker of all time, and that laugh is just still amazing. As for the role of Andrea Beaumont, that was done by Dana Delaney, who just fully owns this role, and this was actually her first time doing a voiceover role. I love how flirty she is with Bruce in the early scenes, like her saying,
Miss Hovey's self-defense class for girls.
Genuinely gets a chuckle out of me every single time, but even in the later, more serious and emotional scenes, she just crushes it. I especially love this moment when Batman comes to confront her at her hotel room, and she sees him and overly kisses Arthur, tells off Batman, and then waits for him to leave before collapsing into a fit of tears. It's just a beautiful performance. Plus, her final line in this movie, while maybe a little cheesy, still hits so hard.
Do you want to be alone?
I am.
Now, for the other side of Andrea, the Phantasm, we just quickly have to mention the incredible Stacey Keech, who provides this actually chilling voice. Like, this definitely scared me as a kid, and man, real quick, the design for the Phantasm is still so cool. It's like a cross between the Grim Reaper, Batman, and the Ghost of Christmas Future, and the little blade hand thing they've got going on here just absolutely rips. Although, I gotta be honest, I am not entirely sure what Phantasm's power is or how they got it. If there's anyone out there that can answer this, let me know in the comments. And finally, we can't forget to talk about Kevin Conroy's performance as Batman and Bruce Wayne, because they are absolutely separate performances. And I think his work in Mask of the Phantasm is some of his best work as the characters, which says a lot considering Kevin Conroy voiced Batman across literally dozens of different iterations for literally thousands of hours of voice performance. But Phantasm really just stands tall as his crowning achievement. There's so many heartbreaking line readings throughout this movie, but my favorite will always be his breakdown in front of his parents' grave and the way he says,
Please, I need it to be different now.
Before Andrea comes to comfort him. You want to know what makes a good Batman story? It's that shit right there. Bruce feeling guilty about his own happiness and allowing it to drag him down into the darkness. And that's just one of dozens of moments throughout this movie where I think Conroy is at the top of his game. The performance he gives in this movie is just beautiful. And that might sound kind of silly talking about an animated Batman movie that came out over 30 years ago, but how can anyone hear a line like this
I didn't count on being happy
and not feel it directly in their heart? And sadly, we lost Conroy in 2022, but he'll always live on as Batman across, again, literally dozens of different projects, but also in all of our lives who grew up with him as our Batman. I know I'm not alone when I say that when I read Batman comics, even now, it's Kevin Conroy's voice I hear in my head while I'm reading. So more than 30 years later, what is the legacy of Batman Mask of the Phantasm? Well, I think it's widely considered to be one of the best theatrically released Batman movies. Personally, it's my second favorite, and I know it can be kind of cliched for nostalgic nerds to say things like, actually, Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie. But also, I do genuinely believe that if we're talking about what movie makes me feel the most like I'm reading a Batman comic book, it's this one, hands down. Sadly, this is one of the only mainline Batman stories to feature the character of Andrea Beaumont or the Phantasm. I mean, Phantasm would show up again in the excellent Justice League Unlimited episode Epilogue, and I know Kyle Higgins was doing some interesting stuff with the character in the comics, but it feels like largely the Phantasm is an ignored character in the Batman Rogues Gallery, and that is such a tragedy. But let me know what you think in the comments. Where does Mask of the Phantasm rank for you in the pantheon of Batman movies? Should I do a video where I rank all theatrically released Batman movies? Do you agree that we need to see the Phantasm pop up again? If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching. It truly means the world. And as always, a very special thank you to my supporters on Patreon who really help me with keeping this channel running. There's a link to the Patreon in the description below if you'd like to learn more. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps small independent creators like myself out and helps me grow. And that's going to do it for Born to Rant this week. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.